which many people find in Britain. It's across Britain. People have been neglected and disrespected. Their communities have been disrespected and ignored by politicians for successive governments and generations. And we have to make sure that those disrespected white working class and minority communities are held accountable for the actions of what politicians have ignored them for many, many decades. And we've not just seen it here in Britain, we've seen it across the United States as well, because we know that when that happens, that democratic deficit, we know that the rise of the far right and the rise of the fascist groups and the rise of Donald Trump is created by that democratic deficit. And the cooperative, our movement, can feel that and has felt that for many, many years. So as a community land trust movement, our contribution to the local economy, because we know as cooperatives that trickle-down economics hasn't worked. Control and command from Westminster hasn't worked. Neoliberalism hasn't worked. Capitalism and the market economy hasn't worked. And we know what works. If you look at Spain and the big cooperatives in Spain, like Mondragon, if you look at the Caribbean and Africa and the cooperative movements, and in Sheffield, as you've said, you've done it here before. We don't have to reinvent the model, we just have to remember the model. And so in London, with the London Community Land Trust, which is the first community land trust in London, we know that we could create a virtuous economy by investing in people, investing in the local communities for which we serve. And we are able to stimulate that local economy by offering local contracts for our house building, for example, to local companies, to offering apprenticeships to upskill the skills gap and intergenerationally help communities who have been ignored for decades. And we can employ them. You can have sweat labour where a contribution to the equity in your property is from the work. You can lay a few bricks. You can work with the architect on the plans. You can design your own kitchen. You're not just being told as a community, put up and shut up, and that is what you're getting in many of these housing developments. And if Grenfell had been a cooperative, can you imagine that would never have occurred? So we know the power, and we have unleashed that power into the community. And we know that when cooperatives are unleashed, as has been written, that we can transform, as you have done before, and as we've been reminded that a Labour government in 1976 doubled the cooperative economy. So these reminders and this direct delivery, we can see the local acquisition of community assets, the ownership of not just housing, of pubs, to convert into youth centres. In Manor, they have created, you all know the Manor estate, social problems can be solved by cooperatives, by the solutions of community land trusts and community asset locks. We're working with anchor institutions. And we're here to put that into practice, right the way down from councillors to community activists like myself, former councillors like myself, right into the House of Lords. So I'm going to pass over now to Portia to also just keep up the momentum.